Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you guys? It's great to see so many people joining us today. Please do put your name into the chat and let us know where you're listening from. Would love to know. Just to let you know before I get started, I'm recording this in one of our services, so you might hear some voices in the background. The recording will be available after the session, and we will email it after the event as well. Do put your questions or comments in the chat section, and if we have some time afterwards, we will get to it at the end. So let's get started. So we'll be talking about overcoming challenges associated with toileting. So let's start with the developmental milestones. So most children are able to control the bowels before the bladders. So that's one of the things that we can look out for. So typically at 1 year old, you will see most babies have stopped pooing at night. By 2, they'll be able to stay dry, and others might need a bit more time. However, by 3 years old, 90% of the children are able to stay dry most of the days. And then by 4, most children are able to reliably stay dry. However, it can take children a bit longer to stay dry throughout the night. So in regards to autism and training, so we call it many different things. It could be called potty training or toilet training. However, the end goal is all the same, is to increase the amount of independence your child has around the toilet. And when I say increase the amount of independence, it really depends on that specific child and what their scope of independence is. Autistic children may take a bit longer to independently use the toilet than their non-autistic peers. And they usually can find it a bit harder to develop those specific toileting skills. Some of the challenges that autistic children might face are the lack of social motivation, not wanting to use a toilet or not knowing why they need to be potty trained or toilet trained, the lack of communication, so not being able to communicate effectively that they need the toilet, or the lack of motor skills, so not having the actual ability to do some of the skills that are associated with toileting. They might also have some sensory needs difficulties. So maybe the toilets are too loud, too smelly, the flush especially, or hand dryers. So that might be something that can be a hindrance to the success of toilet training. They might find it difficult following routines and also understanding changes in routines. So sometimes when they're busy playing, the fact that they have to interrupt that play to go to the toilet might be a bit difficult for them to understand. So the first thing to do when we're trying to get our children or your kids ready for toilet training is to be prepared before you even start. So it's easier when a parent or a carer is prepared to begin. So this starts with planning at the beginning. What's the best time for you and your family to start? So this is a time where there's no distractions, a time where there's no significant changes in your family or your household. Sometimes like summertime might be easier to start off with because it's less clothes, easier to take off and put back on. Maybe a time where you're off work as well. The general key is just for consistency in the house or consistency with whatever you're doing at that moment. It can also get messy. So, trying to catch moments where they need to use the toilet, you might experience a bit more accidents during that time. So something that might help is putting plastic mats around those accident-prone areas, so that you can make the cleanup easier, or also buying lots of cheap underwear that you can use. And if, there's some you can throw away as well easily. Creating a plan. So just making sure that you have a plan before you even get started. So map out what toilet are you going to be using, how and when are you going to start toilet training. Prepare your family, prepare the people who support your child as well about what's about to happen and what expectations they can expect as well. And have a reward system for yourself. This can be hard work, and just make sure you have a good reward system for yourself, because sometimes remaining consistent throughout that time can be quite difficult. So do reward yourself and celebrate the little wins. Celebrate any indication that they need to use a toilet that wasn't there before. Those little wins all build up to creating more independence. And also, lastly, don't forget to breathe. So just breathe. It can be a very stressful time when you are trying to toilet train or potty train your child. Allow yourself to have a lot of breaks. Take breaks if you need to as well. And if you're getting a bit frustrated with the whole process, take a break, breathe, take a deep breath, and come back in. Because when you are calm, your child is calm, and the whole process becomes a calm and fun process. Another thing that we need to look out for before we start potty training is the child ready? Is your child ready to be potty trained? And one of the barriers to potty training is your child not being ready. So most people would start around 2 years old. However, there isn't really a certain age that we can say you have to be potty trained by. It is when the child shows us that they are ready. They're showing signs that they're ready. And these are the signs that we can expect. So, do they show an awareness of being wet or soiled? Is there any indication, not necessarily them saying it or showing you, but is there a different facial expression? Is there a different way that they walk or waddle around? Do they show an interest in the act of going to the toilet? So are they interested around the toilet? Do they follow you into the toilet? Do they kind of copy you or imitate any of your toileting skills? Do they have a communication method? And this can be any way in which they can communicate to you. So whether that's through a picture book or gestures or pointing, things like that. Do they have a reliable communication method? Are they comfortable in the toilet? Are they able to sit on the toilet for at least 2 minutes? So these are some of the things that we have to start thinking about. Are they able to stay dry for at least 1 to 2 hours daily? And do they accept physical prompts? Because sometimes or most of the time in potty training or toilet training, we need to be able to physically prompt them on where to go. And sometimes it might be a quick transition. So are they comfortable with that? Are they happy to accept those prompts? We also need to rule out some medical issues. So have a chat with your GP before you begin, just, brainstorming with them to see if they also think that your child is ready. And this can be a process, not just at the beginning, but you can do this throughout, especially when you're having some difficulties and when maybe you're putting things in place, but they're not working. A chat with your GP can rule out any medical issues that we need to look out for. We also need to understand our child's sensory needs around the toilet. So are they okay with the smells in the bathroom? Are they okay with the lights or the colors? Is the flash too noisy? Are they comfortable sitting on the seat? Are there some things that we can also include that can make the experience a bit comfortable for them? So maybe some sprays that we can put in the bathroom, maybe changing the color of the lights if possible, getting some comfortable seating on the toilet to make it a bit more comfortable, and this will aid in the success of toilet training. We also need to decide on the terminology. What are we calling wees or number ones or number twos at home? Is it pee, poop, tinkle, all these different things? And there are lots of different words that and generic words that people use, but there are also words that people only use within their family. So try and determine what word you're going to use, stick to that one word, and share it with your family and those who support your child. The key thing is consistency. So just to make sure that that word is being used consistently. So whether it's in your home, in your relative's home, whether they're in nursery or school, everyone is using the same language for consistency. We also need to decide, are we using a potty or are we using a toilet? So depending on the age of your child and the layout of your house, this is a personal preference. It's something that we, as a parent or a carer, you need to decide before you begin so that you can make the transition a bit smoother. So there are lots of pros and cons for both. So with toileting, you wouldn't need to transfer to the toilet at a later date. And there's consistency with how the toilets look like. They're all similar wherever you go, hopefully. However, with potties, you can catch a wee quicker. You can, you see the signs that they need to use the toilet. You can just shove the potty next to them and they can sit on the potty and wee. So you can catch those wees really quick. It also acts as a visual reminder. If they can see the potty in every room that they're in, they will sometimes remember that, oh, I need to use a toilet when I feel like I need to pee or wee. And it's mobile. It can go anywhere. It can go to your relative's house. It can go upstairs, downstairs, in the different rooms that you're at. So it's, again, a visual reminder, but it can also go anywhere that you need it to go. We also need to start preparing the child for using the toilet before they're ready. So how can we make the toilet or the bathroom or wherever the toilet is in your house a bit more of an enjoyable environment? So we need to build that positive relationship with the toilet or with the potty without any expectations for them to use it. So they're taking lots of toys into the toilet or the bathroom. They are decorating their potty. They're putting stickers or googly eyes, or they're just making the potty their own. Lots of playtime in the bathroom with the toilet. It can be when you're doing bath time, but the toilet or the bathroom is a fun environment. It has a positive association for them as well. And they will show that they're comfortable with the toilet or the potty by freely entering and exiting the bathroom or being around the potty without any issues. And they're also happy to be around the toilet. There's no behaviors that challenge or they're not upset about it. They're happy to be around the toilet and the potty. We also need to think about reinforcement. So that's when you think about suitable reward for your child when they begin toilet training. What's the one thing that can motivate them to want to be able to sit on the toilet or the potty to pee or do number two? And establishing that strong reinforcer from the beginning helps the process go a bit smoother as well. So what's your child's favorite activity or toy? What can you use to motivate them? And it doesn't always have to be a physical item. It can be social praise. It could be the well done, it's good jobs, the different pitches of your tone as well. It could be a funny dance that you do every time they wee on the toilet. Or it could be a phone call to a favorite person to tell them that they weed on the toilet, or that they have, done something successfully on the toilet. That could be things that you're working on. And don't worry if your child loses interest halfway through. It happens. It will happen as well, because things that they like will change over time, and that's absolutely fine. However, if they're losing interest in a lot of the reinforcers, there's some things that we can think about. So is the reinforcement valuable enough? Is it something that they really value, or is it just something that they're okay with? Maybe it's something that we need to change the reinforcement to something that they really, really love. Is there a difference in the reinforcement when they receive when they have a successful wee on the toilet or they have an accident? If you're always giving them, let's say, their favorite book, for example, whether they have a wee on the toilet or whether they have an accident, then there's no real discrimination between those two reinforcements. So they might not see the value in successfully weeing on the toilet. And maybe they're just bored of it. They've had it for a long time. They're bored of it. So it'd be a good idea to have a variety of different reinforcers that you can have at one moment, so you can switch them out whenever you need to. And a reinforcer is a good one is when the child is eager and happy to see the reinforcer. They are always, leaning towards it or very anxiously grabbing it. And also their behavior is increasing. So you are seeing an increase in wheeze on the toilet or using the toilet. So let's talk about the different steps as well. So the first one would be to create a routine around the toilet. So whether you're taking them every morning or after every meal, this breaks down the barrier that your child might have access to the toilet. Like, for example, if they know they have to go to the toilet routinely throughout the day, they might be less frustrated or less upset if they have to interrupt any activities they're doing. We're trying to form that you do go to the toilet multiple times a day and just building that expectation and that routine from the beginning. We can also build a toileting schedule that works for both yourself and your child. So this would be looking at how long or how short that they can keep their pees and building different short intervals as well. Responses to wee. So if they do a wee in the toilet, yay, well done for that. We want to make a big deal about them. We want to give them lots of praise and lots of social praise about it and specific praise as well. So good job, you did a wee on the toilet. And as much as possible, just make sure that the reinforcement is given as soon as possible. When they have accidents, this will happen, especially in the beginning. So just try and be calm and neutral in your expression and your tone, and just explain to them what the expectation is. So we on the toilet. And then take them to the toilet to get changed so that they can still build that association with toileting and the bathroom and the toilet. Teaching initiation. So when we're teaching toilet training, we also want to include teaching your child how to communicate that they need the toilet as well. So in whatever communication that they use, whether it's vocals or pecs or visuals, we want to incorporate this. So whenever you're taking them to the toilet with the routines or the schedule, we're always using that same communication method as well, so they can pick it up from there as well. You want to generalize it as well. So once they've learned the skills on how to use the toilet at home, we want to make sure that they can take those skills and transfer them to different toilets around in the community, around the house. So can they use different toilets in the house? Can they use those skills in different toilets in other people's house or relatives' house? Can they use public toilets as well? Just making sure that everyone who supports them and works with them, they're following the same routine, because again, consistency is the name of the game. Sometimes we, put all these things in place and there's some things that we see is not really working. So these are some things that you should be considering. Why? What's happening? What's something I can change? So thinking about, is the reinforcement motivating enough? Is it a high value reinforcement for that child? Do they need to change the reinforcement? Are they too bored about it? Do you need to increase the reinforcement? Do you need to add more things to it as well? Is the schedule working? Do you need to take them to the toilet more often so that they're having more successful wees on the toilet? Again, looking at the medical needs. Is there something medical going on? And that's when you would refer to your GP again. And do you need to increase fluid intake? If they're not having a lot of fluid throughout the day, then it will correlate to them not actually weeing a lot throughout the day. So thinking about that as well. And then here are some tips and tricks finally. So just make toileting fun, and not just for your child, but for yourself as well. It can be a very stressful time, but try and make it as fun as you can for both of you. So whether it's playing fun games in the toilet whilst you're waiting for them to pee on the toilet, you could do bathroom karaoke or potty karaoke, do a whole production around the toilet. Toilet training is more successful and messier when the children are out of nappies, because it's easier for them to feel when they are wet or when they have an accident. And it's also easy for you as well to see that they are wet or have had an accident. Use visuals or social stories to support their understanding about why they need to start using the toilet and why they can see the visuals to remind them that they do need to toilet. So you could have toilet symbols in every room, which reminds them that, okay, if I need to use the toilet, I have to go to this place to wee. And take the pressure out of it. If you feel like the pressure is building up a little bit within you or within your family, take a break when you need to. It's okay to take a break because, again, if everyone's happy around toileting, it's a bit more successful. So take a break. It can be frustrating at some times, especially when it's taking longer than you expect. There is no time limit on it. So take a break when you need to and you come back into it again. And again, keep an eye on the fluid intake. So if you might need to increase fluid intake, so to get that successful wee going as well. And we do have our Beyond Autism Resource Hub. There'll be a link put in the chat as well, which will give you a bit more in-depth detail about toileting and the steps, and takes you through some of the different steps about toileting. And we have other fact sheets on that as well. Thank you all for listening. We have about 9 minutes left for any questions that are coming in. Let me just open up the questions. So there's one question about any advice about constipation and withholding stools. The first thing I would say is talk to your GP and see if there's anything that medically you can do. Looking at how can we soften the stools a bit more to get it a bit more regular. Constipation comes with pain and things like that. So again, another negative association with toileting because they're in pain. So trying to, again, build those positive associations with no expectations of them having to use the toilet, building that positive relationship with the toilet environment. And hopefully when they have softer stools, they'll be able to use it a bit more frequently. So the next question was advice on soilings at 4 years old and not being aware of it. So that would be the first thing. So just when they are soiled, pointing it out to them that they're aware of it, using whatever communication method they use, whether it's a visual or you can use multiple. So you can use a visual and maybe a vocal to say, oh, you've had an accident, pointing to a visual or something around that as well, so that they can understand that, okay, this is what happens. But also when they've had the accident, follow the same routine. So accident, go to the toilet. So again, they're building that association with accident and toilet, so that they can go there, and then hopefully that will transition that as well. Next one is on how to help a nonverbal or non-speaking autistic child on how to get this concept. So we're trying to the key is to use whatever communication method that they use. So whether it's PECs or visuals or gesture, incorporate that into what they're doing as well. So stick to your schedule. So you're routinely going to the toilet every, let's say, for example, 15 minutes. You're routinely going there. And every single time you go there, you're going to use your visual or whatever communication method that they use. And you're going to say, we're going to the toilet. And you might point to the visual. And then you would go into the toilet. So you're constantly doing this. You can start with yourself pointing it out. But then if he's okay with it or if they're okay with it, them pointing, you maybe prompting them to point to the image as well, to say toilet and going there and starting with that. And then looking at your reinforcement, just working through the steps that we just spoke about. I think night wetting is very difficult because, they're asleep. So I would say for night wetting, just look at your bedtime routine. Is there an increase in well, firstly, I would say seek some medical advice if there's any medical issues that they might be wetting at night. And then also thinking about your nighttime routine. Are they increasing their fluid intake at night or towards bedtime? Maybe this is where you have to decrease it a bit so that they're able to sustain their not pee as much, towards in during the night. And hopefully this will help as well. Yeah. And the next one is 11-year-old boy doesn't like to wipe himself. I've explained health issues, but also refuses to wipe. That's a bit of a difficult one as well. Think just questions that come to my mind is, does he know how to wipe? Has he been taught how to wipe successfully? Yes, I think explaining the health reasons is really good, but maybe using a social story as well that can be read every single day about the health reasons, and not just health reasons, but also why he has to clean in general, that everyone does it. It's something that you have to do as part of life. And if they don't know how to wipe properly, teaching them how to wipe properly. I know it's a very difficult one as well, but maybe you can start with, I've done it with 2 balloons before, and wiping like Nutella or some peanut butter or something like that off it. Or you can try on a plate as well and just wiping that plate until it's clean, and teaching them that, and putting it behind them so that they can keep wiping as well. I hope that answers all your questions, but if not, please do feel free to email me. You can see my email address on the screen. And if you have any further questions as well, anyone else has any questions, please do email as well. But thanks for joining our session. We have a few bits coming up as well. So we are currently running a consultation for 2025 to 2030 strategy, and we're looking for people to share their views. So if you'd like to contribute, please follow the link in the chat box, and which we will also share in the email as well. Our next session will be about building sibling interaction, and this will be on Wednesday, the 22nd of May, with myself, Rachel Homador. And thank you guys for all coming, and we hope to see you next week. Next month. Hope to see you next month.